The Trump EPA, working with Secretary Kennedy and HHS, is advancing a PFAS strategy that's built to last. We are announcing nearly $1 billion in grant funding for small and disadvantaged communities. Through our PFAS Out initiative, we are directly engaging thousands of drinking water systems that we know have PFOA and PFOS challenges.
EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announcing nearly $1 billion in grants aimed at removing PFAS, or these forever chemicals that are bad for you, from the drinking water systems in small and disadvantaged communities. Not only is the Trump administration pushing to clean up our drinking water, but also holding those who place the PFAS in the water systems in the first place accountable for the cleanup costs. The man himself, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. Sir, huge news. I actually use an RO unit for myself because Manhattan water ain't so clean.
Yeah, this is something that is an important priority for President Trump, the Trump administration, for the Maha Commission, including Secretary Kennedy, our chairman. This started in a big way during the first Trump administration and is now continuing here through this latest Trump administration. It includes research. You just touched on the grant funding, holding those who are actually responsible for the contamination accountable. Something that the Trump EPA is concerned about with the current law as written. What we don't want to have happen is that a water system is responsible for picking up the cost to remove PFAS from the water system, and they pass it off to the ratepayer, so that people then are on the hook for cleaning up contamination of their own water supply. That is not the right approach to this, and making sure that we have standards that are on the book with regard to PFOA and PFOS, and also making decisions that are legally durable, following the law, specifically the Safe Drinking Water Act. All these and more add up to a very robust, comprehensive PFAS fighting strategy.
Yeah. No, look, I think it's fantastic. Another thing, you talked about research. You guys did a ton of research on diesel exhaust fluid. You found out maintenance cost and locking people out of their own maintenance, doing their own maintenance. And also the fact that you went to, you said, I think almost every single state and asked people, and the number one thing you heard back was, we don't like this diesel exhaust fluid, get it out of our diesel engines. I drive a 250. This is terrible.
This is the number one issue that I heard about. During my first year as EPA administrator, I traveled to all 50 states. Yeah, number one. And when I'm talking to farmers, they were telling me stories about how they had 4 of their tractors in 1 year during harvest just stop working because of a diesel exhaust fluid derailment. So last August at the Iowa State Fair, we announced new guidance that significantly reversed the derailments. We put out right to repair guidance in February so that people can repair their own equipment or go to their own person to help repair it rather than having to go to an authorized dealer. We sent out demand letters to 14 engine manufacturers to get the warranty data on the systems not working. We got that information back. The president announced new guidance that removed the requirement for diesel exhaust fluid sensors. And now we are on the verge of about to put out a new proposal, new rule that would propose to completely get rid of the DEF derailments altogether. So this is a lot of action coming out of the Trump EPA to be responsive to that frustration we heard from all across America.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great. Once you guys do that, I'm going to get the delete option done so I can roll coal on No Kings protesters. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Fun fact, too, you can use that DEF, mix it with water, and use it as fertilizer on your lawn because it's basically just urea. It's much cheaper than the stuff they sell everywhere else. All right, the other thing, you're doing your best to reduce the very regulations that intrude on our daily lives. Like, you know, what's crazy is the regulations that you're reforming, that libs are screaming about, they don't even know the law. Watch.
How can the EPA justify abandoning that duty to protect Americans to appease polluters under the false flag of economic growth?
Following the law, Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, where does it say anything about fighting global climate change? Loper Bright, Supreme Court case, you familiar with it?
No, maybe others are. I'm not, but you don't have, excuse me, you do not have the right to say climate change does not exist, that it's a hoax, and that's where this administration is coming from.
I understand you're upset that you don't know what Loper Bright is. Do you know what the major policies doctrine is?
I'm upset because...
You know what the major policies doctrine is?
Let me just
You're a member of Congress. You should know.
What's crazy is you called her out on things that she's lecturing you on. She's one of the wealthiest members of Congress, and yet she has no knowledge of the things that she says to regulate.
Yeah, a former chair of the House Appropriations Committee who wants to be the next chair of the House Appropriations Committee, been in Congress for many decades. And if you're going to ask me why I'm doing something under the law, it's probably a good idea to first familiarize yourself with what that law says, because I certainly have. And if you want to show up at No King's protest on a Saturday, we don't have a king in this country, but if you want to claim that there is executive branch overreach, well, maybe you should be familiar with the landmark Supreme Court cases of recent years to make sure that we are rolling back that executive branch overreach, because that's something that I certainly want to do. I know you want to do. Every single day, I limit my power in a way that limits the power of whoever is going to follow me, and I'm limiting it to simply the best reading of the law, because that is the requirement. I can no longer look at a law and say, this law doesn't say I can't, so therefore I can. And that, I guess, outrages some of these members of Congress who want me to be doing what the law doesn't say I can or can't do. They want me to get creative and just give myself powers that maybe they don't have the will or the votes to do through statute.
Well, that's how we ended up giving out $30 billion in random grants to people we don't even know. But Lee Zeldin, we appreciate it, sir. Keep up the good work.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.